Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Book Tribe podcast, where we're helping authors to take their writing, publishing, and marketing to the next level. And today we are joined by Chris Green, the Authorpreneur, to talk about creative book marketing. Chris, welcome.
Okay, it's great to be here. Talking about books and book marketing is like my jam. It's my favorite thing to do. I will do it at length with anybody that will listen. And yeah, I hope we can help maybe dispel some of the myths around
Mm.
book marketing and kind of introduce people, especially authors, into some things that like, hey, it may not be conventional, but it works. And if your plan is to get attention and get readers and get customers, all these things, then yeah, I think they'll be interested in what we talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, it's kind of looking beyond kind of those fundamental typical advice that you might get from, like, if you Google it, how do I market my book? Well, you need X, Y, and Z. Like, it kind of takes it beyond that, and is really kind of looking at those creative ways that authors can market their book. But before we get into this topic, because I'm sure we will spend this whole time talking about it, we have to ask you a bookish question, which is, you're stuck on a deserted island with only 3 books, which is a horrible question to ask someone who loves books. But if you could only bring 3 books with you, which 3 would you bring?
I have thought about this question because you sent it over, and I was like, okay, that's a fair question. It's asked a lot, and I honestly don't have a good answer. I don't have three that come to mind. I don't have one that comes to mind as like this is something that you absolutely like, I couldn't live without. I would read it over and over again. Uh, I don't know. Like if I'm on a deserted island, like sitting down with a book, I don't know. I feel I have other problems, right? Like I would want. And I also think, that question makes sense like 20 years ago. But like with the internet today and a phone, I'm like, okay, I'm on a deserted island. What do I need? Like, I need to learn, like, can I make an axe? How do I chop down a tree without an axe? Things I want to Google. I'm like, I don't know if there's a book that has those things. So
Maybe a Bear
I
Grylls book, maybe.
maybe. So I honestly did think about this question, and the more I thought about it, like honestly, not even a single book popped up in that situation. Like I am fascinated and I'm loved with the present day that we have, to where we can download literally any book that we want. I use my Amazon shopping cart as like bookmarks. I have like over 600 books in my like saved Amazon shopping cart, like saved for later.
Yeah.
And if I need a gift for myself, or if someone says, "Hey, what can I get you?" I go to my list. I say, "Hey, buy me any of these books. It's fine." And then I'm a collector. I keep them. I don't always read all of them. I have learned to start a book and not finish it if I'm not enjoying it, which I think more people should realize. Like, you don't have to finish a book. And like, it shocks people when they think of that. Like, you're right. I don't have to finish this. So I do think we're in an overdose of information. Like 5,000 books are published every day. Like you can get any book from Amazon in 24 to 48 hours digitally in under 30 seconds. So to me, it's like we're in a world of curation. People have questions and they want to find the answers that they're looking for. They want to find maybe the best book for their specific, situation. And I think people like you, people like me, and lots of others help people find those specific books so that they don't feel overwhelmed by the massive amount of information that is out there, and they can get what they need and they can get on with their life. You know what I mean? So I know that's a long-winded question or answer to a standard question, and I didn't even answer the question, but I
Do
really
you know
did think
what?
about it.
That is completely valid, though, because you I suppose, as you say, with how saturated the market is, how much is out there, and for myself, I'm a mood reader. I could not imagine taking 3 books and being satisfied with just 3 books. But anyway, let's get down to what it is that you do then, because I think, the title, The Authorpreneur, is quite an interesting place to start. Do you mind telling us, how you ended up where you are helping authors with kind of, their businesses and personal brands?
Well, I definitely fell into it. It was definitely not intentional. It definitely comes from a background of, entrepreneurship and wanting to start a business and basically like wanting to make money on the internet, right? Like I grew up without a lot of money. I'm like, I see the internet, like, okay, how can I make some money on the internet? So I started selling on eBay. I started selling on Amazon. I was an early FBA seller. I stumbled into self-publishing because I wrote a book about selling on Amazon through FBA because it was like I was getting so many questions. I was kind of an accidental public figure or guru in that space. And I wrote this really long PDF answering all the questions about Amazon FBA. And I was like, and then I stumbled onto CreateSpace, which is now just KDP, published a book. Everybody thought I was hot stuff and super smart. And I was like, guys, this was not hard. Like I just wrote down the answer to all the questions. They basically wrote the chapters for me and I just filled them in and published it. And everybody's like, wow, you're like amazing. You're an author. Oh, you're an author? Hey, can you come speak at our event? Would you like to be the keynote speaker? And I'm like, I guess, but like, I'm just a regular guy. Like, I didn't see myself as this elevated status or anything. But in hindsight, I can see how that happens, right? So when people do publish a book, they do achieve an elevated status to where people look at them like, wow, you published a book, because it is something that most people never do. It seems like a daunting task. There used to be gatekeepers. It used to be expensive, but now it's remarkably easy. You still have to make a good book, right? You could very easily make a bad book, but you can get that author status. And I kind of rode that unintentionally because I didn't intend to be an author into some other things. And I kind of got fascinated with how you could use a book for marketing. You could use a book to establish expertise, get people to join a community or an email list where you could then say, hey, I'm glad you're here. If you want more information and going to go more in depth, I have these other programs. I have an online course. I have consulting or coaching. And I was like, that's such a brilliant model for anybody who's good at something. Even if they just have an interest in something, they could build a business around their interest or their skill set, whatever it might be. And using a book is, in my opinion, the only shortcut, right? The only fast track. Because everybody in the make money on the internet space is like, they want to do it quickly, right? And like, it just doesn't work. You can't. If you could do it quickly, there would just be a guide. Just go do it quickly. So I do believe there's an instruction manual to where like this is fairly easy. If you're good at something and you follow these steps over time, you will get there. The book part, because it's a lot easier to do, and because, I mean, that's honestly what I'm in the business of, is helping people realize, you mean it's not that hard to publish a book? I'm like, no, it's not. And you're going to get these massive benefits. Now, again, I always have this preface. You have to write a good book. None of what I say will work if you write garbage. Okay. It has to actually be a good book. But it doesn't have to be a long book. It doesn't have to be the best book of all time. But if it exists and people can see it and be like, oh, this person's a published author. Oh, I can get their book for free or for a significant discount. I can get into their world. And if you write your book in such a way, and this is one of my big secrets, write your book in such a way that you benefit, even if you give it away. That means links to your social media, encouraging you to follow, and some kind of incentive to join an email list, QR codes to go to additional downloadable content, something like that in the book. That way you can give the book away. Who's not going to take a free book, whether it's physical, which is going to cost you a few bucks, or digital, where it's not going to cost you anything. They download it, they get exposed to your content. It's good. They want more. They join your email list, and you continue to give them good information. Like, that's the fast track, and you get that published author status simply because you wrote 12 blog articles and you compiled them into one PDF and published it as my top 12 blog articles on this topic. Like, it doesn't have to be Harry Potter and character development and climaxes and resolutions and like all that. That's what people think books are. And I'm like, no, books can be 24. Here, I got one right here. Look at this. This is T-shirt design ideas sketchbook. It's 100 pages, and it's 100 pages of blank T-shirts so that you could get an idea and sketch it down. And when I go to events and I bring this book, people fight over all the copies of this because it's the cutest little book, and it's like, oh my gosh, my kids would love it. And I'm like, really? This book? Because my other books sell for hundreds of dollars, and you could have those too. But no, they want this little cute little book. And it's kind of these realizations over and over again of like the power of books and the power of author status and the power of Amazon's distribution. And it's free. Like, this is what keeps me in business, because people don't believe what I tell them. Yes, you can do all of this for free. And they're like, yeah, but what's it really cost? Like, oh my gosh. It is the biggest opportunity out there. As someone who has been in eBay and Amazon and software as a service and public speaking and memberships and coaching and conferences, this is the biggest opportunity because it has the most potential upside, and there are really no barriers to entry. Anybody can do this, but you do have to make something that's quality, and you do have to be patient and take a little bit of time and get it out there and be willing to start from zero and start small and get that first customer, that first subscriber, that first reader. You're not going to get 1,000 sales overnight, but if you play it right and follow the kind of the manual, the instruction manual for doing this, I don't see how you can fail.
Yeah, and I guess, that it's kind of what you've kind of been talking about is the, as you say, the accessibility of publishing as a platform. But when it comes to kind of the marketing piece, people will be like, oh, marketing, that's big and scary, you know. But do you think that that's kind of the biggest problem for authors when it comes to their publishing, is like they're approaching it in the wrong way?
Oh, 100%, right? So yes, you have to first get them to understand that the opportunity's there, and they put together their book, and like that's one hurdle. And there's another hurdle because authors are not marketers, right? And like I'm, I don't want to say like I'm weird or special. 'Cause I would say I'm more a marketer than an author, right? I write all my own books. I edit my own books. They're not well edited. You know why? Because I'm not an editor, right? But they're good enough to get out there. But people buy my books because they know about me and my books. I'm interacting with people, so I'm more on the marketing side. And I'm in a lot of publishing groups, and I see these common questions. People are so concerned about their cover. It has to be eye-catching. And how are you going to stand out in an Amazon search or stand out in a bookstore window? And their blurb. Oh my gosh, they spend a lot of time on their blurb because they think their blurb is what's going to make or break a sale. Like it might if people are like, looking at every single book. Like, but like, no, I don't think those things matter. Again, my opinion, I don't think those things matter as much as people think they do. The amount of weight that they put on there. Uh, I think you could have a book. I wish I had a copy here. A single color book with a title on it will sell if you give them a reason to buy it, right? If they're engaging with you on social media and you say, "Oh, and here's a copy. Here's my book where you can get it," and they're like, they don't care what it looks like. They're going to buy literally whatever is at the other end of that link that you give them because you have given them value up front. So it's helping people realize that one, you're not a marketer, but you can learn to be a marketer, right? Marketing isn't like some trait that you're either born with or not. You can learn to be a marketer. I think a lot of authors confuse sales and marketing and being a salesman and being a marketer to where they feel like they're trying to like sell something to somebody and they don't actually want it, like a used car salesman type of thing. It's like, no, if you have a product that will solve their problem, and you're interacting, you're talking on Instagram or Twitter or something, and your book would solve their problem. You're not a salesman. You're just telling them what the answer is, right? Now, if they don't need your book, then yes, you're being a pushy salesman. But like, there's no shame in saying, "Oh my gosh, you need help with book marketing? You should buy my book marketing book. It's like really good. It's got a money back guarantee and like like all of that stuff." But the marketing, getting people to know about it, you should have no shame in that. And so many people I see, like especially in the Facebook groups, they want to hire a marketer. And I'm like, you can't pay anyone enough to care about your book more than you should. And if you don't care about it enough to tell people about your published author stat, like how are you not excited and telling everybody that will listen about this? And I think they think they're sounding like a salesman and that they don't want to be like that. And they think that, successful authors just publish and get discovered. And, oh, my cover was so amazing that I sold 1,000 copies. And it's like, no. So it's kind of a deprogramming again to say like, look, I understand where you're coming from. It's all valid. It makes sense. Maybe some of the things used to be true, but they're not necessarily true today. But if you've got social media, you can find people who are talking about the subject of your book with a simple search. And you can enter that conversation and you don't have to enter it and say, oh, you're talking about X. Well, I wrote a book about it, so you should buy it. No, they have a question about X. They post it on Instagram and you go in and say, hey, that's a great question. I used to have that same question. Here's the answer. And leave it at that. Because the back end of that is, so they're going to be like, who the heck is this guy? They're going to click on your profile, and your profile should be branded, like self-branded. So they look at it like, oh, this person's an author. Oh, this person's published a book. Oh, they published a book on this specific subject. Oh, they have a website. Oh, they have an email list. Oh, here's a link to the book on Amazon. Oh, it has 700 five-star reviews. And they find it. And if you play the numbers game and you do this over and over and over again, some of those people who click on your profile, because you give them a helpful reply, right? You're not spamming them. You're not trying to sell them anything. Some of them are going to follow you. Some of them are going to click your link. Some of them are going to join your email list. Some of them are going to buy your book. That's marketing to me. That's getting the attention of people who are at least, interested. They're relevant, and now they're following you. They're interacting with you. And the ones who don't follow you, that's okay. You can still answer more questions. But like, that's all you have to do, and that way it can be measured, and you're not like just guessing. Like, I saw a post today where someone said, "Hey, I sold my first book on Amazon." They don't know who it went to. They don't know where the sale came from. It was their first sale, and they're like, "What can I do to get more sales?" And I'm like, who knows? You don't know what you did to get that sale. So like, what can you do? Do more of whatever you were doing, but you're not doing anything measurable. You're not doing anything that you can control. And it's just, I mean, honestly, it keeps me in business because there are so many authors who need help with this. And I hope everybody that's listening to this gets what they need and starts doing some of these things, because it really just interact on social media, but brand yourself. Have no shame, because if someone comes to you, right, someone clicks on your profile, you're not spamming them. You're saying, this is me. I'm Chris Green. I'm an entrepreneur. Here's my books. Here's a link to my author page on Amazon. I didn't spam them. They came to me, right? They came to you as an author. So brand your own social media profiles with self-promotional stuff. Have no shame in that. And then when people come, they can decide if they want to follow you or not, send you a friend request, send you a message. And that goes into like maybe the third step, right? We're talking about these humps that authors have to get over. And that's having a way for them to interact with you. Setting up a website where you have, hey, if you're interested in this, I've got a free guide. You don't have to buy my book. Here, I'll give you something for free. Uh, and join my email list. So now authors are like, wait a minute, I have to become a marketer, and I have to brand my social media profiles, and I have to set up a website, and I have to learn how to collect emails, and I need to make a lead magnet. And they get lost. And I get it. And I'm happy to help. And I answer people's questions every single day for free. And some of those people are like, hey, could you like help me one-on-one? I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, and if it takes my time, it costs money. If it doesn't, it's free. And I think it's a simple way to do it. But there's a lot to it. A lot of common questions. And I feel like I'm going through the same cycle I did with Amazon and FBA, where I've got all these questions about book marketing. I was like, fine, I'll write down all the answers and I'll publish it as a book. But now I have a little foresight. I'm like, oh, okay, I understand how this can work. Oh, I'm gonna collect. The first time I didn't collect email addresses. I didn't build a brand around it. It was just kind of by accident. So I hope people listening be like, oh, this guy did something kind of by accident, learned from it, learned what worked. Now he's doing it again. And you guys everybody's listening can do the exact same thing. But it's a little bit of work, but it's not hard work. Every email marketing program has help pages and live support. They can help you set these things up. If the terms like lead magnet and autoresponder are like, whoa, what are you talking about? I get it. If you're not in that world, those things aren't going to make sense. But I guarantee everybody has seen this. And what a good thing. Maybe we can put some of these in the show notes. Some good examples of authors who have websites who have great lead magnets, so people can see and be like, that's what I want. I want something like that just for me. I'm like, yeah, now go build it. And it's not hard. And again, that's what I'm putting in the book. Everything I'm putting in the book is free to do, except if you buy a website, a domain, that costs like $10 a year. And I can't figure out a free way to do that.
I'm not sure there is a free way to do that.
But other than that, I recommend an email marketing service that is free up to 1,000 subscribers. So you don't have to pay for any of this stuff as you test it out. And by the time you get to 1,000 subscribers, you should be making some money. So, and it's not expensive after that either. It's like a tiered system.
Yeah.
But even just explaining this reminds me of, like, it's not just you have to get people over one hump, right? Then there's another, and then there's another, and it is hard. And people like me and you are happy to help. We've seen these things. We want to help authors because
Yeah.
people have a message. They're good at something. They want to get their information and their content into someone else's hands because it'll benefit them. Like, that's an honorable thing to do. And the fact you can also build a business and make money with it is like an extra bonus where people are like, oh my gosh, I make a full-time income helping people on this subject that I'm knowledgeable about and also passionate about. Like, that's like the dream come true. It's like, this is great. I get to, like, that's what I feel I get to do. Help people with book marketing every day. Like, you probably hear it in my voice. I like doing this stuff. This stuff is fun. And we
Yeah,
haven't even
no.
got into like the how to give away your book, right? I don't want to spoil
Yeah,
it.
no, we'll get to that because I think that's a really interesting thing that you see happen in the business world. I guess from everything that you've just said, there's so many things that align with the B2B marketing background that I have, in the sense that understanding the problem that you solve for people and just being able to be like, oh, you have this problem, well, here's a way around it. Is something that B2B businesses, even B2B businesses get it wrong, and they've got a marketing budget and a whole team doing it. Even those guys can get it wrong. But also, as you say, this journey of giving a little bit of value and then rewarding them by giving them even more value, and that you can actually kind of build that journey from that first interaction, rewarding that first interaction, and then you can kind of start to build those channels. But I guess for someone listening, it would be like, I don't even know how to do that. That sounds even more complicated. So um I guess it would be good to kind of outline where you think authors kind of make the most mistakes. Maybe it's, do they spend a lot of money on something and it never really works out for them, or is it that they put too much time in, loads of different, what do you think, what should authors avoid doing?
I see a lot of people posting about, hey, I published my book. And so this is going to be more advice for people who have already published, right? Maybe you're thinking
Yeah.
of relaunching, your book exists, but it's not selling. And I see people post, I want to start running Facebook ads. I want to start running Amazon ads. And I almost always, I mean, actually, it's always, I can't think of a single example where I would agree with them. I don't think anybody should be. And I'm not saying they don't work, but if you're at the stage where you're like, I don't even know how to run a Facebook ad, but I want to run them. No, you're probably not at that stage yet. And I think a lot of people are going to throw their money away. I don't have a good number, but I'm sure it's in the thousands of dollars you would have to spend just to dial in your strategy to find the right customer. And I don't think a lot of these authors have thousands of dollars that they're willing to spend to test multiple ads and different demographics and all these different things just to find an ad that breaks even, right? Let alone is profitable. Um, and I'm not a Facebook ads or an Amazon ads expert by any means. I think you'll get way more bang for the buck by giving your book away. And so if someone said, hey, I got $100 I want to spend on marketing, what should I do? And we'll use a black and white book under 200 pages because I know you can send that for like $6, right? And we'll say $7, between $6 and $7. So for $100 through Amazon's author copies, where they're going to charge you $3.59, and these are about equal cost. It doesn't matter if in U.S., Canada, Japan, Australia, France, Spain, Germany, Italy. Are those all? I think there's 8. I think those are all of them. Very similar costs. But we'll just stick with the US. You can send 15 copies of your book. You can have Amazon print, pick, pack, ship in an Amazon package, 15 of them. And you can send to 15 different addresses in the US for $100. Now, if you make a list, and you guys can Google Dream 100, it's a marketing thing that's been around for a while. The first time I read it, I was like, 100 people? Are you kidding? I don't even know 100 people. What are you talking about? So I would bring it down to the Dream 15, right? 15 people. But these are 15 bloggers in your niche. Like people will be interested in your book and its topic. Bloggers, YouTubers, podcasters, Instagrammers, anybody you're like, oh my gosh, if I could get my book in front of this person's audience, I would be so excited. So you follow them and you message them and you get yourself exposed to some of their content. So you can butter them up a little bit. Like, yeah, we are going to butter someone up. Listen to their podcast episodes and say, hey, I listened to this episode. I really liked what you said right here. That I really agree with that. By the way, I've written a book. I would love to send you a copy. No strings attached. All I need is your address. So that is a little bit of an ask. You have to ask for that address. But who's going to turn around like a free book, right? Free physical book from Amazon. Make that list. Reach out to people, and this takes time, which is why people don't want to do it. Make that list, get 15 addresses, and send out those books. They're going to come in Amazon packages, right? People talk about email open rates. Amazon package open rates are 100%. 100. I know everybody's got an Amazon package. Like, they don't remember ordering it. Like, what did I order? Oh, right, I remember. But you're excited. You're like, oh, an Amazon package. 100% open rate. You know when it's delivered. You can track it. And then you can follow up with them and say, hey, did you get a copy of a book? Like, what do you think? But you're not asking for anything. So you got 15 of those. Maybe 2 or 3 become interested in working together, right? They're like, because you can also say, hey, you're a blogger. Hey, if you're ever like super busy, I'd be more than happy to write a guest blog post. But just don't make it about yourself and don't load it up with links to your own stuff kind of thing. Just write a nice, friendly blog post for them. Or they're a podcaster and say, hey, if you ever need a guest, if like you're in a jam for something, I can be available. You're not asking to come on. You're just saying, look, I'm happy to help. Because that happens where podcasters lose a guest. They're like, shoot, what are we going to do? Right? We're scrambling. Oh, what about that guy that sent the book? He said he would do it. And now you're on a podcast, right? And because you're on a podcast, you're helping them out. And if you have your own podcast, you can say, hey, would you like to come on my podcast? So you make it about them. And that's how you build these relationships where now you have other people related to your book, your content, your niche, your subject, your topic, who are going to share your information. Instead of just sitting there, I hope someone finds my book cover because it's amazing. Like, no, like who cares? And so like that's the physical book. Okay, so people forget. Okay, $6 to $7, you can have Amazon print and send your book in an Amazon package, basically anywhere in the world. Unbelievably powerful. People think author copies are for like ordering 50 books at a time. No, order one at a time and send it wherever you want. They don't care. I promise. I've sent thousands of books this way. Uh, but when you have your Kindle book, to me, it gets almost more interesting, right? Because you can do so much more for so much less. So here's what I would do. So someone has like say a $5 Kindle book, $4.99. I would lower the price on that to 99 cents. And then I would buy 100 copies, right? 100 copies of this book for 99 cents each, right? So it's costing me 99 bucks. Like 101 copies you could get. We'll keep the numbers even. 100 copies. And then put your price back at $4.99. You can do that through like a countdown deal if you're in KDP Select, or just drop the price and then put it back up. But now you have 100 individual unique redemption links for a $5 product. Or let's say a $9.99 Kindle book for a $10 product. You basically bought $1,000 worth of books for 100 bucks, right? Because it's your book, right? You're the author. So now you can say to that podcaster who you already sent a book to, you can say, hey, if you need someone to come on, I'd be happy to. And hey, I can give you 20 copies of my Kindle book to give away. Not 20 PDF downloads, which I don't get excited about anymore. 20 Kindle redemption links that they can give away. Right. So you make it about them. Here's 20 links so they can say on their podcast, hey, come to my website, join my email list. And I'm going to pick 20 people to have these. So you're giving them prizes. You gave them $200 worth of prizes for 20 bucks. And you're thrilled because you're giving your book away. Because what did we talk about earlier in the show? Write your book in such a way that when you give it away, you benefit. Because now when people get it, they're like, oh, this guy is cool. And he's on Instagram. Cool. I'm on Instagram, but I can just scan the code because he put in a QR code. He made it easy for me. And you give it away, but you've made it about somebody else. So I don't want people to, and here, I'll play devil's advocate. Someone might say, why would I do this? You're hijacking. You're stealing someone else's audience. You're like, no, I'm not. Because they are on board. They know exactly what I'm doing and they're happy with it because I've done it the right way. I actually have good content. I'm making it about them. They are also benefiting by growing their email list. So it's a collab. It's not a how can I steal someone else's content or how can I steal someone else's audience? That's going into a Facebook group and trying to just spam your links. And guess what? It doesn't work. Like I have Facebook groups where people do that and like I stopped caring as much because my group members were mature enough to know if someone came in and acted inappropriately, like by spamming, and I don't even mean like intentionally. There's plenty of dumb marketers out there that are like, oh, just join Facebook groups and post links to your Amazon book. I'm like, that's the worst advice I could think of. Like, it doesn't even work. But like, I don't even worry about deleting them because the members are smart enough. They don't click on them. They report them and they tell them you're a dumb scammer and to stop all this. So I mean, that's the shortcut people want, but it doesn't work. You have to take the time to make that list of 15 people, send that out. But remember, you got 100 links. Now on your website, you can say, hey, if you want a free copy of my Kindle book, it's $9.99 on Amazon. Click here if you want. However, join my email list, and I will give you this Kindle redemption link, $10 value. Right, like I have Kindle books that are $100 and $200 too. Right, there's creative things you can do with Kindle to leverage it even more. But just take an average Kindle book you can price for $9.99. Now, high likelihood they're going to join your email list because it's like, well, why wouldn't I get a $10 product? It's anchored on Amazon. And then in the autoresponder where you send them the link, you also say, and hey, my book's $19.99, but just because you join my email list, I'll give it to you for $9.99. Right, I'll give you half price. And because it only costs like $6 or $7 to send it out, I'm still making $2 or $3 to acquire customers. Actually, $1 to $2 because I have to subtract the cost of the 99-cent Kindle book. So if you can acquire a customer for negative $2, like companies are spending hundreds of dollars to acquire a customer. And now you are acquiring customers. They're basically paying you because of the fee structure that we're talking about. And they're getting your Kindle book on their device. And they're getting a physical book sent to their house. You have their name, their address, their email. And again, if you're good, you put out good content, they're going to love what you're doing and they're going to take the next step and they're going to join your membership or your school community or attend one of your events or your webinars, or they're going to tell all their friends like, oh guys, you got to get this.
Yeah.
This is what you can do. Now I know what I just went over. People are going to be like, Erica, I hope this is recorded because I got to rerun that back. Because yeah, it's a little bit complicated, but like once you do it, you're like, oh, I could give away more books, right? Like versus $100 on Facebook, down the drain. Hey, I got 14 clicks and no one bought. I'm like, yeah, I could have told you that, or you could have done what I would do. And it's not exclusive. You can certainly learn Facebook ads and Amazon ads if that's what you want to do.
I think also from the journey that you've described, it's also like maintaining control over like the visibility of your community as well, because as you say, like sometimes you can have those ads but you don't necessarily know where they go. Like you could like they might go to that web page, but if they don't buy anything, then where do they go after that? So
yeah,
you
then
don't
they
know.
buy something else.
Yeah, so I guess also in terms of measuring the impact of your marketing, having these kind of mechanisms of I've given this many books away, this many people have joined, like you can actually see the measurement through data as well.
Oh, of course. And the coolest thing, you can give these books away, and if they don't get redeemed, you can give it to somebody else, right? Within 60 days, you can return it. Like there's no waste, or no shrink, there's no loss in any of this stuff. But I
Yeah.
could only, I mean, this is probably, so I told you like the one secret of like, make it so your book about, you get benefit out of it if you just give it away. The second secret is more of like a negative secret, like is the biggest mistake that I see people make. And that's just linking directly to their Amazon page. So Amazon, as big of a fan of Amazon as I am, Amazon is the black hole of marketing. Once they go to Amazon, I don't know. Did they buy it? Did they buy something else? Like you don't know. So why send them straight to Amazon? And I see this, and it's the most common mistake, and I'm sure I did it in the past. On your website or your social media profiles, just having your Amazon link. No, don't do that. Have a website and say, look, buy my book on Amazon. But before you do, make sure that you get this extra bonus, this bonus chapter, this bonus video, this replay of a challenge, it could be something as simple as a YouTube playlist of your favorite 7 videos about this topic so that they don't have to go search. Just get these 7. It's a single link that you make off of YouTube, but this is like the marketer in me. You don't give it to them. You say, I'll send it to you when you join my email list. So they join your email list, they get the link, and then you give them a big, big orange button. Buy it on Amazon. I want you to buy it on Amazon. I buy all my stuff on Amazon, but I want that contact information first, right? I want to give them some kind of value, irresistible value. I will give you whatever you want to give me that email address before you buy it on Amazon. Because I don't want to ship books. I don't want to take the order direct. No, like please go to Amazon. But before you do, please stop here and make it easy. Make it one click. Don't make it so complicated. Just tell them what they're going to get, put in their email, and send them on their way. Like make it easy for them. And again, if you believe in what you're doing, you're going to want to do this because you're going to want to be able to follow up with them and send them updates. And hey, I've got a new version of this. And hey, chapter 3 is actually a little bit outdated now, so I've updated it here, and here you can have it for free. And just take care of your customers. But I mean, I can only imagine how many people you've seen that do that exact same mistake. Link straight to Amazon, and it seems so right, but it's like no. From a marketing standpoint, it's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like there is because in traditional like sales of a business, like one of the biggest things is to control the next step. And I guess, even though we're talking about, marketing, but actually this is also marketing's like the face of sales really. But I guess, being able to control that next step and then reward them for taking that next step again is a really great way of kind of, as you said, building that relationship with that reader and then building a community as well. Because I guess, having that newsletter isn't just about how can you sell to that community, but how do you keep them engaged as well?
Yeah, you're trying to help them, and we're so distracted, right? Like people are you have to remind people that you're out there and send them an email newsletter. Maybe it's once a week or even twice a week. But don't overthink this and be like, oh, now I have to like spam them with something. It's like, no, spam. None of this is spam. They're
Yeah.
asking to sign up. They can certainly go to your page where you're saying, please give me your email address and say, no, I don't want
Yeah.
to. and they can go to Amazon and buy your book. Like we're not gatekeeping anything, but we are saying, look, as an author, as a marketer, as someone who wants to take care of my customers, as someone who wants to sell more books, the more books I sell, the more I can help people, right? So it's
Hmm.
not a sense of like, oh, I don't know. They can just buy it if they want to. Like that's that author who sits there and like, I'm not a salesman, I'm not a marketer. I'm like, look, if you want to help people, you've got to become a marketer, right?
Yeah.
And then let the sales, like you don't. I would say you don't have to become a salesman, in the sense of like, okay, like I would just kind of mix them together. I would make your book so affordable, so it over delivers. It has so much content in it, which I think I could go on a little bit of a rant about how good we have it, that we can pick up a book and have someone, an expert's thoughts and all their ideas and all their lessons and examples that they've gone through, and they can give it to us for like $10, and it's ours forever, and it's physical, and it's delivered in 24 hours. I do I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it is a little bit of. I hope people realize this. People used to bring their ships into Rome, and people in Rome would come out and be like, "Do you have any books? Because while you're here, we would love to copy them by hand, because that's how we're acquiring knowledge these days." And books were incredibly valuable. Like if you could read and write, oh my gosh, you were like the number of people who were literate, of course, was so low. That was power. Now we all have that power. And I feel when everyone has, it's from The Incredibles, right? Like when everyone's super, then no one is.
Yeah.
It's, like we all have iPhones and smart devices and 5G and Wi-Fi and access to literally all the information that's ever been out there. But because everybody else has it, we don't feel that special about it. Instead of like, no, this is amazing and powerful. And our new problem is curation. The new
Yeah.
problem is I'm completely overwhelmed. Self-publishing seems really hard. Author marketing seems hard. I just need some help. And that's where people like you and people like me come in and say like, yeah, this is what I'm good at. If you're interested in that, I have a book, I have a podcast, I have a website, I have a newsletter. If you're interested, you control that. You can sign up, you can unsubscribe, whatever you want to do. And everybody else can do the exact same thing with their specific niche, topic, area of expertise, passion, whatever it might be, and set up the exact same formula. But now you can add physical published books for free, printed on demand. It's unbelievably powerful. That is the true shortcut. The fast track is, yeah, get your butt together, get your information together, publish a book, and yes, that will open doors. There are marketing doors that open for you when you have a published book they're just not available to you if you haven't published. So do that
Yes.
first step and then learn everything that you can. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks. If someone says your book's not selling or your cover looks stupid, are you serious? You have people in your life that are going to tell you your book cover looks stupid? Now, don't get me wrong. I will tell you if your book cover looks bad, right? If you're asking for my opinion, I will give you my opinion, but I would never go and tell somebody like what they're doing and like stomp on their goals and their dreams, because you could have an amazing book that has a crappy cover. Like it's not the cover, but I would always encourage people, keep going, try different things, try giving away your book, reach out to these people over here. You never know what's going to work. Uh, but all these things that we're talking about, everything you can try for free or for like a few dollars, right? Like
Yeah.
none of this is you have to save up and maybe it'll work. Like no, there's so many things you can do.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, too
So
many things to get into just on the one podcast.
yeah, 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 definitely. So I guess, so far we've kind of spoken about, we've spoken about, having that landing page that isn't your Amazon profile, and kind of controlling the next action with your readers and creating that journey. Is there anything else? I say we've kind of used this term creative marketing, but I guess it is also like hacks, isn't it? Is there anything else that authors can consider? And our audience is fiction, but all of this definitely applies to them, because I think even when it comes to being a fiction writer, particularly, if you look at a historical fiction writer, there's an element of becoming an expert in that time period, or doing your research, and being able to maybe write a supplementary book on the research that you've done. Or so there's other ways of broadening out, not just I'm a fiction writer and that's it, but actually to kind of supplement their work with other things as well. But what are your thoughts, in terms of maybe fiction particularly?
That's a great question. I am not known for fiction. I'm definitely on the non-fiction side.
Hmm.
Um, So to me, fiction would be so much about building a community, right? So if someone identifies with the characters or really enjoys the story or the type of writing, they're going to connect with you as the author, right? So they're going to want more. There's going to be some who want more from the author. Now you have to give them a way to get more. Because if you got a bunch of people who are like, oh my gosh, Erica's books are the best. Does she have a Patreon? Does she have a school community? Does she do like live Zoom calls every month or something with her fans or something? And if you don't have that, then well, I Googled it, I didn't find it, so I went somewhere else to find someone who did, or an author in a similar genre that also does. And I think people need to remember that people will pay for access. And there's a great book. It's called 80/20 Marketing, and I think a lot of people have heard of the 80/20 rule. Like you wear 80% of your clothes, 20% of your clothes, 80% of your time. Yeah, like you don't wear all your clothes. You wear a small fraction of your clothes most of the time. It applies to roads. I mean, you can just Google 80/20. It's Pareto's principle. It shows up all over the place. But when it comes to marketing, and this is what I didn't realize, and it's super simple. You don't even have to buy the book. You'll learn everything you need to know about it right here. If you have 1,000 people who bought your book, right, 1,000 readers, the 80/20 rule is going to be like, okay, 200 of those are going to want more, right? They're going to want to join your email list, right? They're going to want to buy your next book, whatever it might be. The secret is out of those 200, there's an 80/20. So now you've got the 200. Now, where's the 20? Where's the 20% of 200, the 40 people who want even more, right? Does Erica have a webinar, or does she have some behind the scenes? Does she have like my writing notes that she took that I can have access to? Whatever. You might be surprised, like who the heck wants access to my writing notes? Like I don't know, but if they want it, like let them have it, kind of thing. So you're down to the 40, and then like there's 80/20 of the 40, right? So 20% of 40 is 8 people. 8 people are going to be like, oh, Erica's doing like a one-on-one event in Boston, Massachusetts. Awesome, I'm interested, and they would go to that, and it might cost a lot. If it's a lot of your time, it's going to cost a lot of money. I think in the fiction world, I don't know a lot of examples of this, so you can tell me your feedback on this. To create a community where people are just really interested and connected to the author because of their writing, because it gave them some kind of emotional response, because it helped them through a difficult part of their life. But like, sweet. And Erica has this community where we all get together and we just talk about our favorite things in this genre, whether it's romance or whatever it might be. I gotta believe people would pay for that. Not everybody, but the 20% would. And if you don't offer it, and this is what's going to happen, people are going to be like, well, I don't know, like, what if nobody buys it? Well, if you don't offer it, no one can buy it. So you have to be willing to put yourself out there. Just like when people hit that publish button, they're like, oh my gosh, what if nobody buys my book? I get it. I do the exact same thing. Before I say send on the email, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, what if nobody reads this? What if nobody clicks? What if I get that fear? It's real. I understand it. But then I say, you know what? This is good. And if nobody buys it, that's okay. But what I'm putting out is quality. So you have to be willing to put out, say, look, I'm starting a membership. If you're interested, click here. And maybe it's a survey, maybe it's some kind of intake form, or maybe go straight to a Facebook group where it's a free community, whatever it might be. But if you don't offer it, nobody can buy it. So be willing to put out there and be like, even a high end, right? If someone's like, oh my, what would I ever sell as a fiction author for $2,000? I don't know. Say, look, for $2,000, I will coach you to write your own fiction book in the same style as mine, right? I would think that a fiction author could do that, right? That seems like a conversation they could
Yeah.
have. And someone may come along and be like, Erica, you're finally offering that? Oh my gosh, that sounds like exactly what I need. And it's within their budget. And you're not pitching and selling it to them. You just say, look, I have this for anyone that's available. And then it's just a numbers game, right? You get 1,000 people, you might find one of those 8 might be interested. You get 10,000 people, now you got 80 people who might be interested. But you got to map all that out, and you have to make it available. And if no one buys it, no one buys it. But
Yeah.
no one cares. No one's gonna be like, aha, Erica, who are these people? Who are we afraid of? These people don't even exist.
Yeah. And I think, as well, understanding where your audience is at, wherever they come across you as well, because I think just kind of putting all of your marketing focus into social media isn't necessarily the answer, because for myself as a reader, I didn't know that Bookstagram existed for like 2 whole years after I started my journey. So my only interaction with authors through actually reading their books and getting to the end and reading the author's note, and that was pretty much where I was. And then, after joining Bookstagram, I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on here. But it was, wanting to connect with authors that I felt I had a connection with, either through the story or through things that they were posting. But something about the story they were telling, about their presence online, connected with me in a way. And I guess, for fiction authors, it's that emotional kind of connection that builds relationships with readers. So yeah, it's really interesting, everything that we've spoken about, Chris, and unfortunately we are running out of time. So I guess you've got this book that you're publishing. Is it already published? Is it already out for people to read?
It is not. It is outlined. It is kind of filled in, but needs to have some examples. I'll embed some videos and some images, screenshots, and stuff like that. But I do feel it covers everything we talked about here. So if someone's like, "Hey, I'm either launching or relaunching a book," this is what they should be doing. It gets into like making the website and just being smart about your online presence. It's kind of like 3 stages. Like you have to set yourself up, and then you have to kind of execute it. So I guess that's only 2 stages. That's all going to be in there. Like it'll have everything that people need to launch a successful book. I'm confident that if you follow the steps, you'll achieve bestseller status on Amazon, especially in your niche. I'm someone who at one time I had number 1, 2, 3, and 4 bestsellers in the entrepreneurship category all at the same time. When I took that screenshot, because that screenshot is more valuable than the rest, which that strategy is in the book, of course. But I just want to add one thing to what you're talking about with the fiction stuff, because you said you found some authors that you connected with. That's the easiest way to do it. Find other authors, see what they're doing, and be like, oh, I could do that. Oh, I like what they're doing. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I see how they're really responding well to that. And again, I think people sometimes get in their own heads and like, oh, I feel like I'm copying. You're not. You saw something that's good and you did it. You saw your neighbor had a pool, so you dug a hole and built a pool. Like, you're not copying your neighbor. You're like, oh, that's what I wanted. I learned how to do it. And the neighbor will even tell you how to do it, right? Like, so see something and be like, that makes a lot of sense. I see how these authors, and Eric, honestly, I'm not a fiction guy. I think this is a great opportunity for you to make a marketing guide specifically for fiction authors and give examples of fiction authors who are doing it really well, so that people can go in and say, oh, I see that. That kind of feels like the type of author that I am. They're kind of doing the things I would enjoy doing, and follow those. The problem, one of the problems is there's no rules here. We're just making stuff up. The fact I sell books for $300 because they're online courses that have hours and hours of high definition video content and private videos that you can't access anywhere else. And people are like, how do you sell books for $200? I'm like, because it's an online course. It's just published as a book. You're like, you can do that? You can publish blank t-shirt pages. Like, if you can provide value on paper, you can publish it as a book. You can anchor it on Amazon with a price. You can give it away as Kindle. You can shortcut yourself to published author status, and you will open the marketing doors that are available to you only as a published author. And then you can follow your podcast and learn more about this stuff. It's so wide open. If anybody wants to do this, they just need to take the first steps. And if they get stuck, they should ask you or ask me or ask any number of the great communities and Facebook groups out there who will answer your questions. But holy smokes, this opportunity is there for everybody. And it's the biggest and best opportunity that I've seen. And it's the one that really everybody can do. You don't have to have a lot of capital. You don't have to live in a specific part of the world. This opportunity is open to anyone. So I hope a lot of people take action.
Great stuff. Chris, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your time today. It's been wonderful to chat to you. Lots to come out of that. For our listeners, thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear more from experts like Chris, then make sure to subscribe to the Book Tribe podcast channel, or to join the Book Tribe author community to connect with our network of author service partners, and also to make connections with other authors in very similar situations to yourselves. But in the meantime, just keep on writing. And Chris, once again, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
This is fun. Keep on writing. I like that. You should trademark that.